Screams beneath the stones. London. A cold autumn evening. The drizzle felt less like rain, and more like a warning from the sky itself. Thick fog clung to the wrought iron gates of Highgate Cemetery, swallowing sound, swallowing light, and maybe swallowing truth. Emily Rains, a quiet photographer haunted by her mother's recent death, stood outside the cemetery. Her fingers trembled, not from the cold, but from the memory of her mother's dying words. Greater than Emily. Never go to Highgate. Your name. It's already written there. She had brushed it off that night. Old woman's delirium, she had told herself. But the next morning, buried in a drawer, she found a decaying, yellowed note, scrawled in her mother's shaky hand. Greater than if you ever go to Highgate. Do not disturb Ian, he sleeps. If he wakes. They all wake. Emily had stared at it for a long time. She was no believer in ghosts. No priestess. No psychic. Just a camera. And a growing curiosity. Greater than pictures. That's all. Just another set for the gallery. She muttered and grabbed her gear. Dash. First step into the silence. The gate creaked open on its own. A gust of icy wind slapped her face. And then, slam. The gate slammed shut behind her. Emily spun around. No one there. Greater than wind. Just the wind. But even she didn't believe her own words. As she walked deeper, her boots crunched on gravel and dead leaves. Yet, it felt like the ground was breathing beneath her. She passed weather-worn headstones, crumbling angels, broken crosses. Then she saw it. A moss-covered tombstone. No full name. Just two initials etched in time-worn stone. E.N. Dash. The photo that shouldn't exist. She lifted her camera. Click. The screen flashed. Glitched. And then displayed a shadow. A tall, faceless figure. Standing behind the grave. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Greater than what the hell? A whisper rolled through the fog. Not from behind. Not from ahead. It came. From below. Greater than you called me. Now silence is no longer yours. Dash. Suddenly, the cemetery changed. Tombstones vibrated faintly, like they were breathing. Trees creaked in unnatural rhythm. A chill climbed her spine like a slow-moving scream. Emily glanced at her camera again. The screen now displayed a message. She hadn't typed it. She hadn't written anything. Yet there it was. Greater than you are next. She backed away. Her heart pounding. She tried to speak, but her voice betrayed her. Greater than what is this? What is this place? Then, a hand touched her shoulder. Everything went black. Dash. When Emily opened her eyes, she wasn't on the path anymore. She lay flat on the cold stone floor of a mausoleum. Cracked ceilings loomed overhead. Faint candlelight flickered, yet there were no candles. Only shadows pretending to be flames. Her camera was still clutched in her hand, but the screen was shattered. Greater than how did I get in here? She whispered, her voice echoing against dead walls. Then she noticed it. The walls were covered in names. Hundreds, maybe thousands, each scratched in by hand, uneven and trembling. But they all had one thing in common. Each name was followed by a date. And a cross. Except for one. At the very center of the far wall. A fresh space. The stone had been cleared. And 3 letters were carved in as if done just hours ago. E.R. Emily's initials. Her hands went cold. Greater than no. That wasn't here before. Suddenly, a voice whispered, no, exhaled, from the darkness. Greater than once your name is written, your voice belongs to the silence. She turned fast. Nothing. Just the hollow breathing of stone. She stumbled to her feet, rushing to the doorway. But it was sealed. No lock. No hinge. Just solid stone. Then, the floor beneath her shook. Dash. The recording. She remembered the backup mic still recording on her coat. She pulled it out and hit playback. Static. Static. And then, greater than, recording. She's here. We've waited. Let her see. The next name belongs to her blood. E.N. remembers. She froze. Greater than this is a prank. It has to be. But the air disagreed. A low hum began. Faint at first, like a funeral dirge heard from underwater. Then it rose. Louder. Almost like chanting. But not in any human language. The cracks in the walls began to bleed. Black liquid. Thick, slow. Seeping from the etched names. And where it touched the floor, it hissed. Greater than Emily screamed. Stop. I don't belong here. Then the door behind her slowly creaked open, on its own. But outside, there was no sky. Just an endless corridor of tombstones. Stretching into the dark. Dash. The child's shadow. As she stepped out, She noticed something bizarre. A child's silhouette. Standing at the far end of the corridor. Still. Motionless. Watching. Emily took a shaky step forward. Greater than hey. Are you? The child turned around. But the face was missing. Not wounded. Not deformed. Simply absent. As if it had never existed. Then the shadow opened its mouth, though there were no lips. And whispered in a voice that echoed like wind through bone. Greater than he buried his voice in me. Now it's your turn. And then it ran, into the deeper darkness. Emily, despite every scream inside her head telling her not to, followed. Dash. The tunnel of tombstones felt endless, warping and twisting as if the very earth beneath her feet had no beginning. No end. Shadows flickered like dying memories. The air reeked of old smoke and soil-soaked secrets. But the child shadow was gone. Only its whisper remained. Greater than he buried his voice in me. Now it's your turn. Ahead, a single wooden door stood, without walls, frame, or structure. Just standing. As if summoned. Carved into it, enter to remember. Emily hesitated. Then placed a shaking hand on the handle. As it creaked open, her eyes widened. Inside was her childhood bedroom. Same desk. Same torn teddy bear. Even her mother's perfume hung faintly in the air. Greater than what is this? A hallucination? Am I dead? Suddenly, the mirror above her desk flickered. It wasn't her reflection. It was her mother, younger, terrified, holding a baby. Holding Emily. Her mother screamed toward the mirror as if she could see her. Greater than no. He wants her name. He wants her. Behind her mother, a black-robed figure appeared. He had no face. Only teeth. Grinning. Dripping. Then, the mirror shattered from the inside. The desk drawer slid open on its own. Inside, a leather-bound journal. The first page read. Greater than the bloodline of En must never be awakened. Emily Rains is the last. If she enters the cemetery. The seal breaks. She flipped through frantically. Pages upon pages of Latin incantations, grave dates, forbidden rituals. But one entry stopped her breath. Greater than En, Edgar Nightmare. Buried alive after binding 21 souls to his curse. He speaks through names. Every person who speaks or writes his name becomes a part of him. Greater than Edgar. She whispered without thinking. Suddenly the room shook violently. The teddy bear turned its head on its own. Greater than you said his name. It spoke. Now you're his tongue. Dash. Buried with him. The room crumbled into ashes around her. She was back in the corridor, but now the tombstones glowed red. She stumbled forward. And saw a massive grave ahead. Newly dug. Open. Inside it, a coffin. Not buried. Just waiting. And on the lid, carved neatly with blood. Greater than welcome home, Emily Rains. She turned to run. But dozens of faceless children blocked the way now, whispers swirling in the fog like a demonic lullaby. Greater than say his name again. Give him breath. Complete the binding. The earth cracked. The coffin lid began to open. A decaying hand rose slowly, fingernails long and rusted with time. And a voice like 1,000 crawling insects hissed. Greater than you carry my curse, child of silence. You were never born. You were summoned. Emily screamed, falling to her knees, clutching her head, whispering. Greater than this can't be real. This can't be real. But below her, from the coffin. Something opened its eyes. Dash. Chapter 4, The Silence Ends. The coffin was fully open now. From it rose a figure wrapped in rotted cloth, its mouth stitched shut with rusted wires, yet still grinning. The stench of centuries clung to his skin. Greater than Edgar Nightmare. Emily whispered again, against her will. The name burned her throat like fire. Suddenly, the graveyard responded. Tombstones cracked. Soil shook. Screams erupted from underground. The buried were waking. Dash. The deal of silence. Edgar floated toward her, feet never touching the ground. He reached out a finger made of bone and shadow, and placed it gently on her forehead. Greater than speak for me, little vessel. Carry the curse. Or be buried with the rest. Suddenly, Emily's body surged with memories, not hers. She saw Edgar as a human, a gravekeeper in the 1600s, who discovered how to trap souls by sealing their names into stone. When townspeople found out, they burned him alive, but not before he whispered a curse in the tongue of the dead. Greater than one day. One of you will carry me. And your bloodline will rot from the inside. And so, every few generations. One was born without a voice of their own. Emily was the last. The children's shadows circled her now, chanting in inhuman tones. Greater than bind or bleed. Bind or bleed. But Emily noticed something. A glimmer, buried beneath a cracked tombstone. Her old voice recorder. Still blinking. Still on. She lunged for it, pressed play, and it screamed Edgar's name in reverse. The ground roared. Edgar staggered back, smoke curling from his ribs. Greater than no. He snarled, his voice finally breaking through the wires in his mouth. Greater than Emily stood tall. I may carry your blood. But I don't speak your tongue. She turned the recorder up. The audio grew louder. The air sizzled. The whispering children began to scream, their faces melting back into nothingness. Edgar lunged one last time. And Emily shoved the recorder into his mouth. Greater than choke on your own silence. He exploded into 1,000 ashes, vanishing with a scream that sounded like a grave being slammed shut. 1 year later. A light snowfall danced over Willowshade Cemetery, now locked and sealed by the city. No one visited anymore. Except one woman. Emily, now pale and quiet, stood at the grave marked. Greater than Edgar Nightmare, here lies silence. She placed a single white lily. And walked away. As she disappeared down the path, the camera she held clicked on by itself. The screen displayed a new file. Greater than audio recording. Unknown. She opened the seal. The silence has only just begun. File name, ER, the first of the next. The camera turned off. And somewhere beneath the soil, another hand began to rise. The end.